Hi there, it's Simon Hurley from Inklips and welcome to another video. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Now today I'm going to be taking a look inside of the March Tonic Studios craft kit, and also later in the video I'll share some inspiration of some cards that I made using the kit. So in case if you purchase this March Tonic Studios kit, you'll be able to follow along and create some cards along with me. Now unfortunately this month's kit is sold out already, but I decided that I wanted to share a peek inside of the kit in case if you're interested in ordering for future months and want to know what one of the boxes look like. So let's just take a quick peek inside of the kit here. So I'm going to start off on the side with the markers and kind of embellishments. Now I think this is the free gift of the kit. I got a die that says "Just to Say" on it. So this is a really nice script die here. And there's also a green glitter marker in here, which are really fun to embellish the cards. I'll use this later in the card and you'll see the fun uses for it. There's also some Nuvo crystal drops in a little baby trial size. So you get to see if you like the color before you actually want to buy one. And this is the bottle green color. Then this, I think this is an exclusive product to the kit and they'll be releasing in future months. Now I really love these. This is a shimmer powder. So this will give you that really fun watercolor effect on your card, and there's lots of powder in here to use, so you sprinkle it on and spray it and you can get some fun shimmery watercolor effects. Then there's also two Aqua flow brushes in here, so I can always use more water brushes. These are lots of fun. And then there's some alcohol markers in here too. So this is a pack of the pink markers, and there's 3 colors that blend really nicely together inside of here. So those are really fun for some coloring as well. So moving on to some of the products that were designed exclusively for this kit. I've already put them inside of this craft kit binder you get along in here. And I've used these two so they're a little bit stained. But this first one is a stamp set that came along with it. It's got lots of little flowers on it and leaves and things like that, and it looks really nice when you stamp it onto a card. So later in the video you'll see how I used it on my cards and kind of changed it in a different way you might not think of using it. And then also in here is a whole set of dies that are designed exclusively for the kit. So you get lots of dies in here. There's lots of borders and frames that come separately. And then also there's a whole other side of different borders that are square. And these kind of layer together, so you get lots of different dies that go along in here. So to finish it off, there's lots of paper in here as well. And it comes packaged nicely in this envelope so that it won't bend. So you've got this fun metallic shimmer paper and some of their fun textured cotton papers as well. So you get lots in here, as well as a watercolor paper. I already used that one on my cards though, but you get lots of fun patterns and designs in here so you can create your cards with these. Alright, so now that we've taken a look inside of the kit, I'm going to turn you down to my work surface and we can get started working on the cards.
Okay, so for the 2 cards today, I'm going to take that flower stamp and stamp it down twice so I get lots of different flowers for my cards. Now I've applied it in my Tonic stamping platform here, and you'll see why in just a second. It's kind of hard to get that nice even pressure even in the first run in the stamp platform. So since it's in the same spot, instead of re-inking it, I'll just lift it back over and reapply pressure and stamp it down. And you want to make sure you get every little area of that stamp to make sure it stamps nicely. So once that's done, I'm going to move on to coloring with my alcohol markers here. So you got 3 alcohol markers inside of the kit, and that's these pinks that I'm using here. But I also am going to use lots more Tonic alcohol markers here, and I had lots of fun coloring these images in. Now I'm not going to color the whole image, I'm just coloring a couple flowers and a couple of the leaves that I want to use on today's cards, and the rest of the image I'll just leave blank. But you could just use this whole image and color it in and put it on a card, and I think that would look awesome as well. So the nice part about these alcohol markers that I really like is it takes all the guesswork out of alcohol markers and making sure that the colors blend. So they come in really affordable packs of 3. So instead of having to choose your colors and hoping that they blend together when you get them, you get these nice packs and you don't have to worry about them blending because they're going to blend by themselves. So for this red rose flower here, I'm taking some orange and bringing that in as well, so you get that yellow-orange kind of undertone underneath the coloring. Now for this blue flower, I wanted a little bit of variation, so I'm going to bring it out of just those color packs, and instead of just using all 3 of the blues, I'm going to shade with 2 of the blues at the bottom, and then at the top of the flower, I'm going to bring in these purple colors. So I'll shade with the darkest color there at the edges of the flower, and then I'll bring in that medium tone of the purple, and I'll color it and blend it down, and then I'll fade it out into that blue color. So I'm just going to feather out some of that color and push that into the blue, and you can see how nice that really goes together there. So to finish off some of that coloring and add some detail, I'm going to go in with that blender marker, which you can get in another pack of these markers, and I'm just going to go over some of the color to blend it together, and it also lightens some of that color too. So I'm going to follow some of those designs in the stamp, and it'll remove some of the color in those areas. So then I'm going to choose and pick some of the leaves that I want to use on the cards. So I'll pick some larger leaves and some smaller leaves for some variation. And then I'm going to blend and shade those as well. So I'll follow the lines in the pattern to kind of shade those down the vein. And then I'll blend it all together with the light, medium, and dark color. I always like to start with the dark and move on to the lightest color. And that'll kind of help blend it together without oversaturating the cardstock. So once I'm done coloring in all of the images, I'm going to then go in with my Aqua Flow shimmer pen, and I'm just going to go over all of these images with some sparkle and shimmer. And this is super fun because it won't come off on your hands, but it's really stunning in real life on these cards. Now also I'm going to go in with that green glitter marker that came inside of the kit, and I'm just going to really simply go over the line of the vein on all the leaves, and this just adds a little bit of that green sparkle, and it also won't come off on your hands either. So then I'm going to go in with my mini Tim Holtz scissors here, and I'm going to go around all the images and cut these out right along the border. Now it's not super difficult to fussy cut because these have big lines on them, so you're not able to see the mistakes as easy. But if you do struggle with it, it really helps to move your cardstock instead of moving the scissors, so you can get some smoother cuts there as well. And also, you just want to quickly go around the images, and these aren't too detailed, so they're pretty easy to cut along. Now also, if you did make a mistake on the edges, you can always go over it with a black marker to hide that white edge. So then for the backgrounds of the cards here, I'm going to take some watercolor cardstock that came inside of the kit, and that embossing plate and the rubberized mat for the tangerine machine. And then I'm going to take 2 squares here, these are going to be my backgrounds, and I'll line up some of those detailed dies in there. So I'm using that frame square die and also that little circle die here. And then I'm going to put the top plate over top of it, and it's nice that I can do both of these at the same time in this machine. And I'll bring this in and run it right through. Now this is going to give that embossed impression because it'll press down into that rubberized mat, so you get these really fun textured backgrounds, but it didn't quite cut through your whole paper there. So once I'm finished with that, I'm going to then move on to creating the watercolor background here. So I'm going to use some of that shimmer powder, which is super fun. It goes on like a powder here. You don't need much, and I really love the applicator bottle it comes in, so you can just tap on some of that powder, and then I'm going to spray on some water, which is really simple, but it really creates stunning results. So you get that really cool watercolor effect, and you get the darker spots and the lighter spots, and there's lots of variated color inside of there, so you get lots of different tones in the watercolor. So it makes it really easy. And I did that on these backgrounds so that after that design was in there, it kind of accentuates the background and makes you be able to see the design a little bit more. So for this one, I'm just applying it heavily in the center and kind of leaving the sides more white there. And then I'm going to come in with my spray bottle, and you can spray it more or less depending on how much powder or how much watercolor you want it to look like. And then as I was heating it here this time, I decided that I wanted a little bit more watercolor kind of look here. So I'm just going to go in and spray it a couple more times, and it'll make those powders react and move a little bit more. And you can really see lots of variated color and lots of different colored powders inside of there. And that'll also be nice and shimmery once it's all dry. So I added that onto a square card base there, and I wanted to let you in on some of my creative process here. So I'm going to go around that frame and add some of the flowers in here, but before I adhere anything down, I like to kind of line the flowers up and make sure I like how it looks, and then I'm going to adhere it down with my foam tape here, so this just gives it some dimension on the card. Now when I lined those all up, you could also take a picture to remember where they all were, but I just kind of lined them all up until I somewhat like it, and then add it all down onto the card, and the design could change a little bit, but it's still fairly similar to what I loved in the beginning. So I'll add that little rose flower down there, and then I'm also going to just tuck in some of those leaves. So I'm using a strong liquid adhesive, and I'll tuck those right underneath those flowers, so these will lay flat on that card there. But that just adds a little fun flower scene, and it's cool to be able to use these flowers instead of just on that background, even though the background is beautiful and you could just leave it like that. These are really fun to kind of cluster together and make your own little scene there. So now for the sentiment, I took a little mini thanks sentiment, and I'm going to white heat emboss this. So I'll sprinkle over top of the powder, and I'm just doing this over top of a black strip of cardstock here. So you get that nice little thanks sentiment, and I'll heat it up until it's nice and bright white, and then I'll add that right onto my card using some foam tape as well, and that'll finish the card off for this one. Now I'm moving on to the second card here, which is pretty similar to what I just created. However, I wanted to share with you kind of one of my mistakes and how to kind of fix it. So before I adhere the flowers down completely, I don't push them down until I love how they look, which allows me, I didn't love how it looked here, so I'm just going to peel the flowers up and move it over just slightly, because I wanted them to kind of round a little bit more instead of going completely vertical on the card. So here I was able to change how it looked without ripping any of the cardstock. So once that scene is created, I added some leaves in and added a little hello sentiment on from the same set that the thanks sentiment came in, and I'll just add that right on top of that card there. So here is an up-close look at those cards, and there will be much more info and pictures as well as a full supplies list on my blog, so be sure to check that out.
Alright, so I hope you guys really enjoyed seeing some projects made with the March Tonic Studios craft kit and got some inspiration, and I hope you guys will have some fun creating crafty projects with your kit. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon for another card making and crafting video. Bye!